Constance is one of those indie games that grabs you the moment it starts, not just because of how gorgeous it looks, but because of how quickly it sinks its themes, its atmosphere, and its emotional weight into you. I've played a lot of Metroidvanias over the past 37 years of gaming, and after fully completing this one, yeah, there is something special about this game. This is my full review of Constance on PC, and if you're on Nintendo Switch, PS5, Xbox, or planning to pick up the Switch 2, don't go anywhere. This game is coming to all consoles in early 2026, and after experiencing everything that it has to offer, I genuinely think every Metroidvania fan should have this one locked onto their wish list. Now, this is a spoiler-free review, just an honest, complete look at what this game brings to the table. So without further ado, let's dive in. Alright, let's brush up on the story, literally. Constance is a 2D hand-drawn Metroidvania that takes place inside the mind of an artist drowning in burnout, anxiety, and emotional overload. Instead of telling its story through long dialogue boxes, the game weaves its narrative directly into the world itself. Every biome, every character, every background element reflects some piece of Constance's mental state. You're exploring a decaying version of her inner world, parts of her memory, her self-worth, her creativity, and her fears, all blended into a surreal landscape. It's the kind of narrative where you feel the weight of what's happening without needing a single word explained to you. One of the most powerful examples comes during a mid-game flashback. You sit at her work laptop, getting slammed with relentless Microsoft Teams messages from coworkers demanding things ASAP, only for someone to tell her at the end of the night, "Oh, we actually don't need that anymore, sorry." It's the type of moment that hits way too close for anyone who's dealt with corporate burnout. I've lived that life. That scene was uncomfortably real. Visually, the game is breathtaking. The art style blends painterly strokes with animation that feels fluid, expressive, and alive. The lighting is incredibly well done, moody, emotional, symbolic, and the game loves using contrast to make areas pop. There's a rain effect early on in the game where the shadows fall diagonally across the screen, and it's honestly unlike anything I've ever seen in a Metroidvania. Each of the 6 major biomes is distinct and thematically rich, and the enemies inside them reflect their emotional tone. Some zones feel hopeful, some feel suffocating, and some feel chaotic. It's all part of the larger metaphor that makes this game stick with you long after you close it. And the soundtrack? Subtle, atmospheric, and carefully tuned to Constance's internal struggle. It lets the world breathe while heightening tension exactly when it needs to. Okay, let's dive into the gameplay because Constance definitely dives straight into walls. Gameplay-wise, Constance finds an incredible rhythm. Exploration, combat, platforming, everything flows into everything else. Your paintbrush is the core of the entire experience, acting as both your weapon and your tool for traversal, puzzle solving, and unlocking new areas. Right from the start, you begin expanding your moveset. The paint dive lets you slide through tight passages. The paint stab lets you damage corrupted enemies and hazards. The paint clone explodes on command and becomes a key traversal mechanic. The paint stroke bursts you forward at incredible speed. The wall dive lets you weave vertically through walls, very similar to Splatoon. And eventually, the somersault expands your mid-air movement. What makes all of this special is how perfectly these abilities chain together. By the second half of the game, you'll be diving through walls, teleporting to your exploding clone, bursting over hazards, pogo jumping off enemies just like in DuckTales, and darting through corrupted terrain without missing a beat. The entire movement system feels handcrafted for flow. Combat is deliberate, enemies have real attack patterns, and you have to earn your victories. You can't just plow your way through zones. The inspiration system adds even more depth by letting you customize your build and upgrading those inspirations creates a noticeable difference in combat style, whether you're going for critical attacks, survivability, or mobility. And let's talk about the boss fights. These are super creative, memorable, and consistently impressive. Every boss introduces fresh mechanics or movement challenges, and they're paced beautifully through the 8 to 10 hour adventure. And if you're going to try and 100% the game, you could probably go 15 to 20 hours. Now let's talk performance, because this game flows smoother than my mustache on beard oil day. On PC, Constance runs beautifully. I played it in full 4K with VSync on, 4x anti-aliasing, and every visual enhancement enabled, and the game held a perfectly smooth 60 FPS from start to finish. No stutters, no drops, just clean animation and razor sharp visuals the entire way. Now let's talk consoles. When the game does release on Nintendo Switch 2, I would expect something comparable to how Hollow Knight Silksong performs. And then with PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series, you should have no trouble whatsoever hitting 4K 60 FPS. Nothing in this game's design suggests performance hurdles, and if anything, the painterly art style is tailor-made for every modern platform, and this is a game that would be really fun, of course, to dive into in handheld mode. Alright, let's pace ourselves by talking about pacing. One thing that immediately stood out is just how good the pacing is. There's never a dry spell, never a moment where you feel stuck or directionless. Every zone leads naturally into the next, and every time you unlock a new ability, you're given meaningful ways to use it almost immediately. The map design is smart, intuitive, and constantly rewards exploration. I found secrets everywhere, paint flasks, heart pieces, glimmer stashes, hidden passages, and new inspirations tucked behind optional challenges. Difficulty ramps up nicely throughout the game, the combat stays engaging, but the late game platforming is where Constance really tests you. There are sections that require chained abilities, precise timing, and super clean execution, but it is fair. And when you finally hit that last platform after a flawless run, it is highly gratifying. Alright, let's see what's on the palette here. Constance offers a complete Metroidvania package from start to finish. You've got 6 biomes, challenging boss encounters, unique traversal mechanics, side characters with personality, optional secrets, the snapshot system for marking points of interest, which I absolutely love. You can get a camera in the game and you can take pictures of areas and it'll go right onto your map. And Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown did this, and I applauded that in my review of Prince of Persia. For instance, if there's a certain area in a game and there is a item that you can see on a platform but you know you can't reach it, you can take a picture of that and it'll upload to your map. Once you get the ability to double jump, you will now be able to reach that item. Instead of having to remember where it was on your map, you can reference back to the picture you took. The inspiration system for customizing your build is great, and a steady stream of upgrades to chase. You can toggle tutorials, enable or disable boss health bars, and experiment with builds freely at shrines throughout the world. This is a Metroidvania through and through, perfect for fans of Hollow Knight, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, Ori, and classic genre staples like Castlevania and Metroid. But it's also a story-driven indie that has real meaning behind its design, making it great for players who appreciate games that connect emotionally. And just playing Constance reminded me a bit of the emotional connection that I experienced from playing Celeste. Let's paint a picture of how fun this game really is. The fun factor here is extremely high. There were moments where I'd finish a run of chained abilities and just smile at how good it felt. Combat stays engaging thanks to inspired enemy design and meaningful upgrades, and exploring every corner of the map is enjoyable thanks to the variety of biomes and secrets. And again, the snapshot feature adds a layer of strategy for planning revisits. Now let's step back and look at the big picture, pun fully intended. Constance leaves a real impression. It's rare to see a Metroidvania that blends emotional storytelling with such polished gameplay and art direction, and it comes from an indie. The hand-drawn style is instantly recognizable, the movement system feels fresh, the boss encounters stand out, and the themes of burnout, anxiety, and self-worth hit harder than expected. This is one of those games that not only earns a place in the Metroidvania conversation, but I think it helps push the genre forward. Once this hits consoles in 2026, I think a lot more people will be talking about it. Alright Stash fam, time to put the final stroke on the canvas. Constance is a beautifully made, emotionally resonant, and incredibly fun Metroidvania that nails its movement, world building, combat, and pacing from start to finish. The paintbrush mechanics feel fresh, the environmental storytelling is sharp, and the hand-drawn art is absolutely gorgeous. This PC version gets my full Thunderstruck recommendation easily. And if you're going to be playing on Switch 2, PS5, or Xbox early next year, trust me, you're going to want to keep this game on your radar. Add it to your wish list as soon as it's available because this is one of 2026's Metroidvanias to watch. And as always, remember, you're never too old to play video games.